Charles Dickens, you've heard of him, I'm guessing. I'll tell you now that I've never read Dickens, so I went into this with just the kind of like cereal box information on the man, the sort of pop cultural osmosis that you get about a figure from watching Muppets versions of stuff they wrote. Indeed, my only understanding of David Copperfield even comes from the BBC miniseries that Daniel Radcliffe did in the late 90s. I would have been about 8 years old when I watched it, so don't look to me for judging textual accuracy. But textual accuracy and this film have a curious relationship. It'll no doubt draw a lot of interest and probably a lot of attacks for prominently featuring people of colour in main roles, not least Dev Patel as David Copperfield himself. This isn't the slightly awkward "how do we explain this" casting style either. Director Armando Iannucci and casting director Sarah Crowe have decided to completely ignore any sort of justification. There are white characters with black mothers and vice versa. Stuff like that. It fits well with a general approach of irreverence and postmodernity that will come as no surprise to viewers familiar with Iannucci's other work, like The Death of Stalin, Alan Partridge, and Time Trumpet. The film begins with David Copperfield reading his life story to a gathered audience in a playhouse. That scenery then becomes the film as it starts, with Copperfield's birth narrated by him in person, literally standing there watching it happen. A carriage bursts into his bedroom to transition into another scene. His idyllic early childhood is interrupted by a hand crashing through the ceiling, becoming a pencil sketch taken away and scrunched up. Even the dialogue does it. Characters mock each other's very Dickensian names. These postmodern touches encourage the viewer to approach what might be viewed as a sacred text in some quarters in a more lively way, and it also opens up the story to some moments of absurd humour. Unfortunately, the flip side of this is that the dialogue can often be quite bold. It explains things very plainly, and combined with frequent wide and mid shots, all the better for improvising, I have to assume, it can feel a bit simple, a little childish. It's not aided by the very episodic structure early on, where Copperfield is shuttled from weird character to weird character, each of whom is played by a well-known British actor, admittedly all doing pretty good work. As I understand it, that's not really Iannucci's fault. After all, Dickens was basically writing as he went along, and for a serialised purpose as well, so you have to keep the audience hooked. Unfortunately, it makes it hard to care about the story or Copperfield's fortunes until the plot settles down in the second half, fully an hour into the film. It just feels a bit rushed, and that's exacerbated by plenty of comedic rushing, you know, where actors run around to do a big funny, as if being faster might make the laughs louder. All in all, it's quite a clever and radical adaptation. Iannucci and writer Simon Blackwell make quite a few big changes to the story that interact with and are justified by their interesting postmodern conceits. The casting of people of colour in lead roles also lends another angle to some of the themes of the story. In particular, Copperfield's changing identity as he is named and renamed has some interesting additional dimensions. Unfortunately, in my book, a film can be very, very interesting and still not good. I think there's plenty to like in the film, but it's by no means a classic. Still, it'd be great to have more radical period films and classic literature adaptations. Dickens is a good place to start, as he was a pretty radical writer in his time. That's it from me, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on this interesting but not good film in the comments below. Let's chat about weird period films and clever adaptations as well. This really reminded me of Michael Winterbottom's Tristram Shandy from about a decade back. Or, you know, we could just talk about the movie or literally anything. I don't know, it's the comments. Do what you want. That's it from me. Have a good one. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.